All right, here we are with some matches from the BC Summer Xingscrim. This is a finals match, the one and only finals match. It was a best of one. This is going to be an analysis, so if you maybe want to see the original match before I keep on pausing it and starting it here in full, I'll leave a link to that down in the description below, so make sure you follow that. But let's get right into this here in the auto. Xingscrim in general was a pretty jank comp. It was a scrim, so not the teams weren't super extra prepared there coming in here. But we did see 9181N. They had a really good auto coming into this, and so let's just watch out for them here in the auto, see what they're able to do as they get that roller and they pick up these discs here. Not really much to talk about here, as autos so far in this tournament were just get those rollers. That's really the best way to get points. With those rollers, you can just get 10 points. So if you're not really too confident in your auto, that's one of the best strategies you can do right now. We'll keep on going in this match, see what happens. So I want you to kind of understand this match. Maybe take it as a case study for what you can do if you're a team that is down in your capabilities as a robot. Because this robot here, 6408N, they are a weaker robot overall compared to their opponents, 911N and 1010N, I believe. Their Alliance 1010X isn't that bad. I think they're kind of even, but 6408N especially has had some pretty bad shooting, and I think 1010X too had some trouble with their shooting throughout this tournament. And we'll see how they do here in the finals. They try to rectify that. They have a few little strategies they do, especially this guy right here, Logan. He's very good with these kinds of matches. We'll see what he's able to do. I'll talk us through that. The auto here, they lose that. Not a very good thing, but honestly, happens if your opponents just have a better auto than you, where they can get both rollers and a disc in the high goal. And 10-10X not able to get that roller. Really a thing you have to do if you're not able to shoot. You have to get the roller. Auto starts up here. Immediately 10-10X playing some defense on 9181N there. Goes right in there and bumps him. That's nice work, honestly. If you're not really too confident you're shooting, open up some space for their teammate. And we see 648N getting ready to shoot. There's shots, none of them going in, just one of them. So already starting this off pretty badly. I think, honestly, giving their opponents too much space here right now, because their opponents have been shooting much better than them. So as 911N squares up the shoot here, I would like to see some more defense from 6408N or 1010X, but they leave them alone. They do defend 1010X, or 1010N, which is pretty nice. I like that right there. We'll keep on going here. More shots from 9181N. And so there's some interesting things here happening. 648N, again, doing some defense. Defense is a really nice thing to do if you're not able to shoot yourself, because if you do good enough defense, you can pretty much make sure they don't shoot at all. And just by getting those rollers, if you just have at least one of these rollers possessed at all times, it puts kind of a pressure on them to have to shoot, because they're going to have trouble getting those rollers later. And it's very nice to be doing something active, because you really have two options. If you can't shoot that well, you have option, or three, but the third one I don't really count. You have option 1, get these rollers. Option 2, defend your opponent. Option 3, put discs in the logo, which I don't really count as a viable option. It can get you some points, but not enough to outshoot an opponent who's able to shoot in the high goals consistently. Option 1 works pretty well, the rollers, but mostly later in the game. Like right before your opponent's going to go for the rollers, if you can read that properly, then you want to get the rollers when you think they're about done shooting. Because then once you get both of the rollers, if you get it just in time, you can just sit there and pretty much defend it for the entire game. But even if you do it earlier on, you can only really do it once until there's no real point sitting there. Because if you already have the rollers and you're just sitting there, you're kind of wasting time. It's better to go actively play defense on the opponent than sit back here and wait for him to come to you and let you play defense on the rollers. And so we see 6408N doing this. They're going to play defense right now in 1010N. Their teammate 1010X, I don't really know what they're going for the rollers right now. Having some trouble with their roller mech. That's fine. A minute left here, and 648N is being outshot completely. They're being destroyed, and getting some discs in the logo. I think they're doing a lot of work from that. That big 1010N intake kind of screwing them over. And right here, they're defending both robots very well, but still at 911N get some shots in. So it's going pretty bad for them right now. It's going very horribly. I mean, these rollers are getting taken away from them. They have these ones, but they're being completely outshot. They have some discs in the logo, but really right now they are losing. You can see from the score here, even though it's even, those rollers over here are about to change possession. Boom, you're gonna see red shoot up. Actually goes down. That's weird, but we'll see it go up in a second. Tencent and Enix having some trouble there with the rollers. That's weird. I would think maybe maybe the score here is wrong or something because that right side should definitely be higher. Unless there's that many discs in the logo, that'd be kind of funny. But if you didn't catch that right there, it's very hard to catch. This is really the strategy that Blue was using here while they were down. This was the very important strategy. So they saw here, 1010N is having trouble with the rollers, right? They saw this. This is one of the first things they saw right here. 1010N having trouble with the rollers, right? So we need to neutralize 9181N, right? Because they are the only team that can do rollers, and they're ahead on discs. So we need to get the rollers. So Logan, little known thing about him, he's actually a sorcerer. So right here you'll see he actually with a little flick. I think it was over here actually where he did his little magic. Right here, see? He's looking. And he looks up with that flick of the hat right there. That's his magical like spirit power item right there. And so he uses that hat and he casts a curse. So 9181N right here, they're now cursed. The robot has been cursed. You can see if you look very closely and you tamper with the footage a little bit, you can see like the curse energy coming off of them. So they come here. Logan, after he's done a sorcery, boom! They touch that net right there. And so Logan has cursed them, and he uses sorcery powers to make them take themselves out of the game by getting entangled in that net. Ref calls them out, drop the controller. And there we go. Look at that. What brilliant usage of sorcery right there. Like, you have a limited amount of spells you can cast a day, probably, with your energy. And so Logan here, he's very smart with conserving his energy, and he knows how to cast those spells. And so he takes his magic, and he saves it for the finals here, and uses it on the team that he identifies as better. This is a big skill here, trying to identify which one's better. He casts the spell on them. I think if you listen very closely to the audio, you can actually hear him mutter his incantation. I'm not going to try to reveal that, because it is his incantation. You got to find your own magic that works when you're doing sorcery. And so we can see here, boom, they're cursed now. And so their teammate hasn't been cursed. They're fine, but they're on their own. And rollers is going to be a very important thing here, because the win condition for Blue pretty much right now is expand and rollers. If they can get a better expansion and better rollers, both of them, they win. And a 2v1 expansion is a pretty easy expansion to win. And 1010N's expansion has not been working that well today. They just made it today. 911N has been working brilliantly, so they neutralized them, and now they're going to win the expansion too. As we see this play along, 20 seconds left. 1010N right now, super down on rollers. They're probably not even going to be able to expand, because Logan has cursed their teammate to completely mess up their expansion. Huge thing, by the way, right now with these matches where teams are worse, expansion is becoming so important early season in spin up. And so we see here in the last 10 seconds, both of those blue teams line up for their expansion. I'm not sure if 1010X actually fires. It does, and they just completely demolish the expansion. Like, it's not even close. And so that was such a brilliant curse there from Logan to take that game. I mean, really just class act play right there. Be able to curse this robot right here. He saved it for so long because he didn't know how long how powerful of a curse he'd be able to cast. He was probably, conserving all of his energy that entire time. And then they get out of the game. He gets the right team, analyzes it very well mid game, and out expands, plays his win condition, and he wins right there with the rollers. As you can see, they're just up in points by a lot. And so really just a class act example of how to utilize the curse meta to your advantage to win lopsided matchups where you're being outshot in spin up. Thank you for watching, everyone. Big thanks to Xinghao and some of the Penguins and refs that came over to host this scrim. Made it much more professional. Big thanks to RoboPlanets, BC RoboPlanets, for letting us do the scrim in their building and hosting. Very fun event, very interesting event. Great way to test out the robots early season before the event start up. I'd like to thank them, and thank you for watching. I'd like to see you guys casting some curses. Let's go.